we get started with the heavy stuff, I'll give each of you to give a brief introduction to your respective organizations for those who may not be familiar, starting with Eva.
Hey everyone, hi, my name is Eva Selamlar. I'm heading the Swiss Financial Innovation Desk, which is with the Swiss Federal Department of Finance. And it's a 3-year pilot with the mandate stemming from the Digital Finance Report of the Federal Council to make sure that the Swiss financial sector in the long run does not lose its competitiveness, is fit for the future. And so this is what I'm doing with my really fabulous team.
Excellent. Lauren.
I'm Lauren Carter. I'm with the United Nations Development Program's Insurance and Risk Finance Facility. We work to build the financial resilience of countries, communities, people, small businesses to rising risks, especially related to climate change.
And Francesco.
Hello everyone, I'm Francesco Gaglione. I'm technical lead in NTT Data, and me and my team work on blockchain for enterprise solutions. But we are in NTT Data Group, that is Japanese largest telecommunication company. So when we talk about infrastructure, we are not talking about theory. We build real solutions that impact on real people's lives. So, I mean, we work on real solutions for real problems. Thank you.
Excellent. Now, of course, we're here to explore how technology helps foster opportunities for economic development. And I'd like to start with Lauren. So, Lauren, how is UNDP integrating digital transformation into its broader development strategy, especially in emerging economies?
Great. Thanks for the question, Tracy, and thanks for having me. So, digital tools and technologies are key levers for the achievement of the Sustainable Development Goals, especially those related to financial inclusion and poverty reduction. So, for example, we have something called the Better Than Cash Alliance, which is a coalition of 80 governments, companies, and international organizations such as UNDP. And together we come together to support countries in their transition away from cash-based payments towards more digital solutions so that more vulnerable and unbanked people can actually have access to financial services. But in addition to financial inclusion, we also have to be thinking about the flip side of that, which is financial protection. So in this world of rising risks, so climate change, we also have the impacts of COVID and their disruption of supply chains. We also need to be thinking about the financial resilience of these vulnerable groups to these risks, and that's where insurance comes in. So for example, my team runs 30 insurance innovation challenges, all in developing countries around the world, and we put technical assistance and financing towards developing insurance solutions to meet underserved market needs. So for example, we're leveraging technology in almost all of these. For example, in Nepal, one of our winning solutions is actually an AI-based way of geotagging cows because their noses have a fingerprint like a person. And when we have livestock insurance, farmers and livestock herders, often 5 people make a claim on one dead cow. And so there's a huge amount of moral hazard and operational inefficiencies in actually verifying like whose cow this is and who's making a claim on it. So we're leveraging this AI technology to actually map cow noses. We have thousands of cow noses, and each of them is its own digital fingerprint, and that improves our operational efficiency and lowers costs so that we can provide these types of services to farmers.
I love it. I love it. Switzerland's the right place to be talking about cow noses.
I know, of course, has a lot of cows. Maybe they need our cow nose technology.
Now, of course, UNDP and DFINITY have had the pleasure of collaborating on a particular initiative known as UTC, which aims at promoting financial inclusion specifically for MSMEs. Can you share a bit more about the initiative and its overall goals?
Yeah, and so actually the UTC work is where we bring both the kind of financial inclusion element and the financial protection element hopefully together. So the financial inclusion element, the UTC, Universal Trusted Credentials Project, it's being piloted in Cambodia, Southeast Asia. 97% of businesses on average are small and medium enterprises. And so they desperately need to have a more holistic way of bringing together all their different identity verification. So for example, their tax ID, their address, if they have a track record of paying their electricity bills, et cetera, so that they can then go to banks with the goal of helping them to access credit or financing that they might not otherwise have because they're essentially an unknown, uncredit-worthy actor. And now we're looking at how we can take that pilot in Cambodia, scale it to more countries in Southeast Asia, but integrate the insurance component, because the insurance component also allows banks to understand that this MSME has a degree of risk reduction and it makes them a more creditworthy entity because they know that they're more likely to get their money back if they give them a loan, because they know that if something happens, like a flood that takes out all of their inventory, that they're going to get a payout and they're not going to be financially destitute. So by pulling in these little pieces together, we're creating the building blocks with governments, with insurers, with technology providers, with international organizations, with fintechs to try to create this ecosystem where MSMEs are supported in a holistic way that incentivizes financial protection, inclusion, and risk reduction.
We'll get into a bit more of sort of the approaches to public-private sector partnerships. But first, I'd like to ask Eva. Earlier this year, the Find published its Pathway 2035 report, which explores how 4 transformative technologies will shape the financial landscape of the future, specifically AI, digital assets, digital trust, and quantum-safe technologies. Now, what are some of the key learnings that the Swiss government has drawn from the report when it comes to harnessing economic value from these innovations?
Thank you, Tracy. Before I answer that, I would just like to make a big compliment to the UN and how they actually, walk the talk and harness those technologies. Often I'm asked, by government authorities, by supervisors, by others, where are those real use cases of blockchain? And so last week there was the inauguration of the first ever ETP on the Swiss Stock Exchange. Where you can buy Cardano, and then the staking awards get donated to the UN Refugee Agency, so the UNHCR, and so it can't get more real than that. I say, right, because those 130 million forcibly displaced people on the world, they get immediate relief through very innovative blockchain use cases, just like this one, where we combine finance and expertise and UN, and big applause.
Oh, thank you.
All right, so so Pathway 2035. Who has read our report? Hand up. Just one hand. Oh my goodness. Okay, so I'm shocked. Pathway 2035 for Financial Innovation, Your Navigator, is a paper that you should really read. It is available on our website, and it has been featured by the World Economic Forum in January. So not many can say that of their papers. So I'm really proud, I have to say. So the lessons learned, right? Because the exercise was to do a collaboratively written report, which provides a navigation tool for the next 10 years on those 4 technologies that you just mentioned. And there were several key lessons that we learned. One, we need to do this again, right? We need to track the development, because otherwise a compass is only as good as it is really also adjusted going forward. So we're planning on doing a second release later this year, maybe again for January, to be seen. If there are parties interested in collaborating with us, please ping me. Second lessons learned was that those technologies are really, really groundbreaking. There are big transformations going on, but the actual music plays when you combine them. So when you combine quantum with AI, right, which can then reduce energy big time that AI otherwise uses up. So convergence is another big lessons learned. And then the third was that this paper was an experiment, right? It has never, I think, happened before that the government writes something together with the ecosystem, and so I had to also do some convincing in Bern, that there's no liability coming with such a report, and we had to put in some caveats and all that. But I think it really showed also that the collaboration is key, because it was not a sales paper. It was not a paper like, hey, in Switzerland we have, great chocolate and mountains, or in analogy, the Crypto Valley, or big or AI research centers like EPFL. But it was really to engage also with international thought leaders. Then in Singapore, of where do we stand, what are the big problems, where are the big trends going on, and what do we do with it now. And I think this collaborative dialogue between academy, industry, NGOs, and the government, I think that was really new, experimental, and worth repeating it.
Absolutely. Now, we'll again touch on public-private sector collaboration in a second, but before we do, I'll head over to the person representing the private sector. Francesco, what role can emerging technologies like AI, like blockchain, et cetera, play in enhancing service delivery, transformation, transparency, economic opportunity within the private sector?
Yeah, so actually we are in a great moment for AI. We see that companies finally see the advantages that they have using technologies like AI. For example, they now analyze huge amount of data in hours, but before they probably takes weeks or months. So now they're understanding it, and so now we are working seriously on this technology. And blockchain is another story. Blockchain is, now we are out of the FOMO. So we now are not in the period where people say blockchain will solve everything. Now blockchain have to prove that it's able to give value. So here we come. Here is where we work, because we are trying to create a bridge between the Web2 world that we know and the Web3 opportunities. And in particular, we noticed that it is very difficult to work on legacy systems like banks, because it's just work. So instead, we noticed that it's easier to work with small or medium or startup, because they don't, including the blockchain in their system, is not an expensive add-on. Instead, it can create value to their processes. But I just want to make a very simple example. We work on some project where we combine, for example, artificial intelligence and blockchain, because we use it to analyze the huge amount of data that comes from farm, and we create, for example, carbon credits. And so the artificial intelligence helps blockchain in this case with its tokenomics.
So there's, again, sort of hinting towards that convergence of different technologies that Eva already mentioned as well. Now, let's focus on that public-private sector collaboration, obviously. Lauren, with UNDP, you often serve almost as a third party in these types of collaborations, coordinating between local on-the-ground governments and private sector participants. So what role do these collaborations play when it comes to leveraging tech in order to harness economic potential?
So public-private partnerships are at the heart of everything that my team does. I think we're a little bit of an odd duck in the UN system. We collaborate actually with about 20 different insurers, 5 of which are based here in Switzerland. And the nexus of why we work with the private sector is because they do what we can't, and we do what they can't. And so together, I often say that, our partnership is like 1 + 1 = 3, or 2 + 2 = 5. It's together we are more than the sum of our separate parts. And so the reason and the why in terms of how all of this comes together is that we have a common problem. And sometimes I think, maybe to your point about, blockchain being the solution for everything, I think there was a point maybe 5, 7 years ago when blockchain was the solution for everything, and it was a solution looking for problems. I have problems and I need solutions, and I don't care what the solutions are, but a lot of the solutions are coming from technology, but it's about me coming with my problems and then mixing and matching the right mix of financing, insurance, technology, AI, data, blockchain, et cetera, to solve my problem. And you bringing in the different public-private sector partners to do that, which is, again, governments, companies, investors, insurers, and to create that ecosystem. A lot of which has to do, again, about a shared problem that everyone is experiencing from their own different vantage point. Businesses are, concerned about their ability to manage climate risk. Governments are concerned about, the cost of climate risk and them being the insurer of last resort for, for businesses when they're affected by this. Companies are concerned about their ability to sell and access products and, regulation. So we all kind of come at it from a different thing, but we're all trying to solve the same problem. It becomes a global public good.
It's this very problem-solution-oriented approach that relies on a mix, I guess, of skills and inputs in order to achieve said solution. Eva, on the Swiss government side of things, you hinted before, again, this report was sort of a first. It took a bit of convincing as well in Bern in order to demonstrate the value of sort of public-private sector collaboration. What role does that engagement play in bridging divides when it comes to infrastructure, capabilities, and digital literacy even?
I'm still lingering a little bit on this public-private partnership collaboration theme, right? And I think it's a complicated relationship, right? Public-private sector, because in Switzerland, at least, the government has the job to only step in where it's necessary. Principle-based regulation only when there's market failure. Otherwise, the industry does what it does best. Doing business. The government is there to just step in and provide the best optimal framework conditions. So, is this a partnership? Is it? So maybe there are better examples like this Pathway 2035, where we can truly speak of a partnership collaboration because we really pitched in and we work together. But then there are other examples. I think there's not a true partnership, right? I mean, paying taxes or getting a license, getting a tax ruling if you're a crypto foundation. And I think there, where it's not a true partnership, we have to work towards that it gets as close as it can get. So that, as in a partnership, you listen and you try to understand, and then you work towards what you have heard. So this report that we did served this goal, that we can learn from each other, right? That R&D in the academia is being transferred into the industry, that the industry is aware of also certain concerns of the regulators, namely customer protection, investor protection, stability. So it's really a dialogue, right? And the dialogue is the first key for a good collaboration and partnership. But there are, I think, very good examples taking place already now when it comes to the EID project. In Switzerland, you may have heard, the law is being put to a public vote in September. I hope the ones that vote, that you will, I have to be politically correct, but that you will vote correctly. No, kidding aside, it's a very important thing that's coming. It will help us in becoming more digital in Switzerland. And if you have followed a little bit, there is a wide participation, a community going on in the build-up of the EID and of the infrastructure. There is on GitHub, there's everything wide open. There are monthly participation meetings. Again, playing into this collaboration and dialogue and learning from each other, so that when regulation is being done, that it is being done in the best way.
Yeah. And I guess that is partially also just the role of the FIND is to be part of that exchange platform or exchange medium.
Yes, the mandate was really to be a hub, to be a bridge builder, and for the lack of a better elevator pitch, I came up with this concierging financial innovation slogan. So imagine the Swiss financial sector like this big luxury hotel called Place Financière Suisse. and there's a hotel management. There are a lot of customers going in and out, and there's a top 5-star ranking. And what is missing a bit is this desk, this front desk, this concierge desk, which connects, which answers questions, which listens closely. Oh, soup is being served cold. Well, better call the chef. And so being this hub, right? That was at least the idea, and we'll see where it is going.
Now, Francesco, you guys partner with the private sector, but you obviously also collaborate with the public sector. What are some of the hurdles that you've come across as a private sector participant offering both technology services and consulting services to the public sector?
Yes. So our vision is we noticed that in the world there are a lot of thousands or hundreds, thousands of different solutions. This is not good because we need a simple and unique framework, a simple, unique protocol and we have all to work on that protocol. So actually, we think that regulatory sandboxes can be a solution because you can see it as an innovation lab. So where companies are eager to work on new technology, they want to innovate, and government instead have to protect citizens. So these sandboxes, from our point of view, is a good solution because you can work in this sandbox, so you can make arrangement, you can build trust, and so this is probably the right way to build this common framework, and so yeah.
Leaving sort of that room in order for innovation to take place without immediately stifling it off.
If I can also jump in, because we've often played in this regulatory sandbox space as well, especially around these development of new insurance products. Insurance is heavily regulated for a good reason. They want to make sure that insurers can pay out claims when something happens. But at the same time, there's a lot of opportunity for innovation. We leverage a lot of what's called parametric insurance, which is trigger-based. So it's triggered by things like wind speed, wave height, soil moisture, most of which comes from some sort of technology input. So it could be satellites, it could be some sort of IoT sensors, et cetera. So we use that, and that triggers a claim. But it often requires this kind of safe space for governments to try this new technology to see, and whether these new kind of insurance products, to see whether they actually work without, opening the floodgates for things that haven't been tested. So I think, this is a good space to play around without kind of unleashing Pandora's box in full.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And the circle closes because a sandbox was also one recommendation that we did when we did the first deep dive after the Pathway 2035 report in January. So now we do those deep dives per topic, but with a Swiss lens. And so the first deep dive was building blocks for smart finance in Switzerland. Smart finance, it's not open finance, it's not open banking, it's the open pension, it's smart finance. So how do you share data in a structured way to really solve a problem, also by obviously using AI? And one recommendation was, for example, implement a sandbox similar to the FCA in the UK. This could be a very good way to test and to learn, and with the available data sets, right? Because there are already a lot of available data sets out there, which could then also allow AI fintechs or other fintechs to develop solutions.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll close out with that thought in a final question. So obviously, Lauren, you operate with your team in developing economies where sometimes the skills gaps are vast between what the public and private sector are experienced in, have been able to actively participate in or build up capacity in. How do you proactively approach closing those gaps through these public-private sector collaborations?
So I think almost all of our public-private partnerships have international kind of best-in-class partners, and we also have local partners, because local partners are the experts at the local market context, and local government, obviously expert local market context, and so we kind of blend the expertise of best-in-class for example, in Switzerland, we work with Swiss Re, Zurich Insurance, et cetera. But through all of those projects, we have local insurers who also partner with us on the ground because they know their local markets. And so Swiss Re provides the reinsurance for the local insurers to do that. Through the project, they learn more together. But I think, again, on the subject, just to go back to the part on sandboxes, when you create this innovation in this space, one of the things like that UNDP's secret sauce is bringing, and this is part of the conversation about the Cambodia pilot with UTC, how do we take something that's working and how do we use that innovation to scale it by bringing in other governments, et cetera? So it's not just a regulatory sandbox for what's working in country X. It's also saying this worked here. Can we take that lesson, bring in more governments and, or other partners, and take that lesson and modify it, as needed to fit into these also different markets? And that what you develop here, then the skill set of, that working successfully somewhere is then brought to those other markets as well through that public-private collaboration.
That ensures sort of a scalable impact within a particular region, not just for a particular project, but something that you can magnify across.
Exactly, and it's always tweaked for each market, but you kind of learn what works. You take those hard lessons as well, and then you're able to then sell that. Like we were saying backstage, no one wants to be the first one to get in the pool, but once you have someone in the pool, once you have like some sort of proof of concept, it's a lot easier to push it to new markets, tweak it, make it better, and then kind of replicate it, as needed for more countries.
Absolutely. All right, that unfortunately already brings us to the end of our half hour. Thank you so much for being the first panel up after lunch, always a tough nut to crack. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you for the conversation. Let's give them a hand.
Thank you.